So is this really how it is? People really outside tweaking like this over some weed? Lyle literally almost fainted and was on the streets looking like a junkie behind an eighth of weed? Oh, leave the weed alone if that's the case. Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss NewlyWeeds. Now this is a movie from 2013 and it stars Omari Cheatham and Trey Harris. Now before we get into all things weed brownies, I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm going to give you guys a moment to do that and then we're going to come back and discuss. Wow, as a non-smoker, I had so many questions like, are people really this codependent on weed to where you just can't even imagine getting through the day without smoking a blunt? If so, leave that over there. Leave that way over there. Now that you guys have hopefully subscribed to see more of me, let's get into this movie. But before we jump into the video, I have to give a shout out to the person who paid for and requested this movie. So if you happen to get your entire people who may have a really beautiful, loving, blossoming relationship, but might even have an even better relationship with weed, it's not because of me, it's because of this person right here. Thank you so much for supporting me and paying for this content. Now, getting into this movie was directed and written by Shaka King. This is his very first film, and he is probably best known for Judas and the Black Messiah. This is an independent film, and you can tell right away that the movie doesn't have the most massive budget, but you do see the creative side of somebody like Shaka King and what he can do as far as writing and where his mind is willing to go with these scripts. I didn't know exactly what to expect going into this movie, but with a movie title like NewlyWeeds, I am anticipating newlyweds who smoke weed all day. We were almost there. Not only did we get this aspect of a couple, but we get a very original stoner comedy drama. Now, I know myself in particular, when I think of stoner comedies or movies in general, I'm thinking about How High, Half Baked, Cheech and Chong Up in Smoke, maybe Pineapple Express, and maybe even bigger movies like The Big Lebowski. But most of the time, we have never gotten anything as real as the depiction here. Not only do we have a couple here, but we have a black couple, Lyle and Nina, who are very in love, very New York, and very much so equal opportunity stoners. They love smoking weed. But unlike other stoner movie depictions, especially the ones that involve black people, there is something that is intelligent about this writing, there is something romantic about it, and there is something that feels very grounded as far as the circumstances that Nina and Lyle find themselves in. You know these people. You know these people, and if you partake, then you may actually be one of these people. And that's something that you don't see all the time. The authenticity of our two main characters is really sold by the acting performances, especially when it comes to the portrayal of Lyle by Omari Cheatham, who I vividly remember from If Night Catches Us. I never forgot him. I felt like his acting was really phenomenal there, and the same goes for here, especially with the subject matter. He is able to convey so much, and he just feels like a real person that you might know. Lyle is a repo man, thank Rent-A-Center, who loves to not only smoke weed, not only at home, but on the job. Not only do we wake and bake, but we can barely get through a full work day without smoking, and anticipating smoking even more once we get home to our girlfriend. Nina is well traveled, she's a collector of crystals, and she's very spiritually inclined when it comes to smoking. You know, those people who want to be deep in thought and become a whole philosopher once they get a little weed in their system. Even though it's been debunked, you know, on average, us as human beings, we use about 10% of our brain power. Think about who we can become if we tap into that other 90%. Or, you know, if you were trapped alone on a desert island and could only bring one thing and eat one food. Shut up. Shut up. Nina is very much so one of those. She has ambitions to travel and do more, a lot more than it seems Lyle wants to do. She wants to backpack, she wants to explore, she wants to save up for a whole trip so they can travel and live out life. Lyle is just very content with the status quo. As long as I have some real potent weed in the stash for my weed man, I am okay. Right away, it is established that Lyle goes to work. He's not, you know, super driven. Not only does he make the mistake at work, like repoing the wrong furniture, riding around with his coworker who has a questionable moral compass, being that all he does is pretty much curse all day. He's looking forward to getting off probation, talking to 16-year-olds, and absolutely okay with repoing the wrong shit. Who cares? Whereas we have Nina, who is, you know, well-versed, well-traveled, on a higher plane, works at a museum as a tour guide, mostly with children. She is seen as the prize in the relationship. Lyle loves her very much and wants to accommodate her in any way towards saving for this trip and not just strictly blowing their money on weed. Now, right away, I in no way saw Nina as the prize in the relationship. Actually, both of them seem to be a little subtle and not really in a rush to meet their full potential and really happy with the status quo. Even though she wants to save up to go on this trip, with her working in this museum and working with kids as this tour guide, she flourishes there. She's doing a wonderful job. Everybody loves her. Everybody is constantly praising her, asking for business cards. But we go to work smelling like weed. We don't give it, you know, 100% of effort, and it's just, you know, a throwaway. Like, oh, you know, I don't want to. You know, those people at work who only want to do, like, I don't want to do so much. Like, don't praise me too much. They might call me to go to the back. I am fine with this. This is easy going. I come here, I walk around, show you the place, but I don't have ambitions to want to do more. But I do want to travel though. And not only does she really seem to enjoy smoking just as much as Lyle, but it seems like she smokes a little bit more than Lyle within the film. But at the same time, she has a tendency to place a lot of judgment on Lyle and feeling like he only, you know, preoccupies his time with smoking weed, spending his money on weed, when he should be trying to get on a higher plane with her, you know, go expand your mind, like, sit down. Now, we also have a lot of comedy in this movie, mostly on Lyle's part and him repossessing things. If I had to hear him be called a pussy clot one more time, like the Jamaican lady, not wanting to let Lyle, an old boy, repossess her refrigerator, spraying him in the face, like, with disinfectant, like, that shit was pure comedy. I don't know the New York laws or however other repossession places work, but like, I have never seen anybody go through all the tricks and trade just to repossess somebody's furniture. Like, Lyle might as well be an undercover police officer, the way that he is moving. It is really, really dangerous. And I know myself, I was anticipating somebody rolling up on his ass. Like, if an old lady is willing to disguise herself in a store, switch out hoodies and shit, just so you won't take her refrigerator, leave her alone. It could get deadly out here. But the lengths that he is willing to go to repossess something is absolutely funny. And you're just anticipating, okay, you're pushing it, something is eventually going to happen. And something does happen. We have the stress of his job begin to weigh on him. Not only is it heavy because nobody wants their shit repossessed, like, everybody's combative, everybody's fighting. He even gets punched in the nose, at which of course he just wants to smoke to relieve things. We also see that weed is just not only a comfort for Lyle, but it's more so just escapism for him to maybe go off into fantasy. We have this really great moment where he gets high and he not only imagines himself but his friends as these 70s knockoff chef-ass policemen who are slaying all the dry turkeys just to repossess somebody's furniture. And that's when we leave weed just being, oh, it's just recreational, oh, it's just relaxing. No, this is complete escapism because Lyle is clearly unhappy with his job, unhappy with the day-to-day grind of just repossessing people's shit. I need to smoke, and I need to smoke now. No matter how he tried to twist it, he wasn't content with his job, or maybe even with his relationship that he has with Nina, because he constantly is feeling like she could do better, she's the prize. But instead of changing his circumstances, changing his job, changing anything, he would just rather escape, relax, and smoke some weed. I also really like the fact that the movie incorporated Lyle not being a drinker. He holds himself, he smokes all day, but he holds himself to a higher standard than others because, you know, you're a drinker. At least I don't drink. I do all the smoking in the world, but I don't drink. I think we managed to see that. I know myself, I see that often where people just feel a little superior because they aren't a drinker. When in fact, even though he is not a drinker and, you know, weed came from the earth, God put this here for me and you. Take advantage, man. Take even all of that, you are still really codependent on this weed. You cannot manage to make it throughout your day without smoking weed. And if you try, it is pure hell for you. He is absolutely addicted. Now we have Lyle's insecurities in their relationship heightened when Nina meets a Mongolian hash official in green pants at her job at the museum. Chico here being portrayed by Coleman Domingo. You have seen him probably more recently in Candyman and If Beale Street Could Talk. Really great actor. He does a great job here. You can tell that this is one of his early roles, but this is more when we get into me not feeling like Nina was the prize, and they were equally a little damaged. Chico not only works at the museum, but he holds a higher position than she does as far as bringing in the artwork, all the artifacts, but he can spot who she is from a mile away. I can tell that you smoke. Not only do you, you know, look a little, but you smell like weed. I feel like you would be interested in smoking with me. Now, even though Nina is very much guarded at first, you know, hey, this is work, I'm trying to hold down my job, I don't need anybody knowing that I smoke weed, she has been avoiding him. As soon as he says, you know, I'm one of us, you know, I have some hash, she not only wants to smoke hash with him and she drops down all of her guards, but she takes him back to their apartment. And this guy is not only trying to smoke with her, but he is clearly very much so interested in her. Not only is she not guarded and taking him back to her home to smoke, and she doesn't know him from a can of paint, and he could jeopardize her whole job, she eventually smokes the last of Lyle's good weed with him after he has had a long, terrible day. Lyle, noticing that the eighth has been smoked after he's had a terrible day, and he sees red and sees them like practically laughing at him, enjoying themselves. Like that whole scene, that whole play out was absolutely funny. But even not just seeing red because they are smoking the weed, not only are you smoking up my shit with somebody I don't know, who I can clearly tell likes you for more than just talking about hash, he has something to offer you that I don't. You just brought somebody here that you don't know who works in a higher position than you to your house to smoke when you have a man. Not to mention that he is very much so interested in you. So who's to say what he would do and how he would react with you rejecting him? What's more unprofessional than that? Lyle is not only feeling inadequate and jealous, but I need to get high. And my weed man is nowhere to be found. The weed man here is portrayed by Hanson Johnson. You probably recognize him the most from The Wire. But this whole escapade that we follow Lyle on in search for any kind of weed, because I need to get high this instant, is completely ridiculous. Like, people really out here moving like this over some weed? Lyle is in New York, in the hood, on the night streets, walking up to random ass people, random ass dealers trying to buy some weed. Not only does he look suspicious, people think, you know, is this a cop? Is this a crackhead? What are you doing? You are moving funny. You look anxious and desperate. It just looked bad. When we have Lyle follow this random ass drug dealer to buy some weed and he comes out and gives his ass crack, I must have fell out when that fool said, you know, you looking real fiendish. Like, look at the white shit in the middle. Like, nigga, I've been eating powdered donuts. Like, no, nigga, I want some weed. Like, I fell out, but it's like, what do you want people to think? It's late and you look so desperate. I thought that they maybe went in a whole lot. I do not smoke, but I did ask people who do smoke, since this has been Lyle's weed man pretty much all of his life since he started smoking weed. When you can't find that one person who supplies your weed, it can become a heightened ass problem, give you all of this high tension, like, Lord, all of this desperation. But I thought they did push it a whole lot in this movie with how he was literally out on the New York street jeopardizing his life just to get $20 worth of weed. But you know, let's just blame that on anxiety. Now, at this point, we have had Nina try to stop him from going out of the house. She can tell that something is wrong. At that point, he had had a really long day. Of course, I said he had been harassed, punched in the nose, trying to repossess some things, but he is not confiding in her about it. He doesn't really want to talk to her about anything. I'd just rather, you know, go get my weed and then I can talk to you later. But she takes this as, you know, oh, here you go. You are trumping the weed, you know, with our relationship. You're not confided in me. If you go out and buy weed instead of staying here and talking to me, I'm getting my stuff, I'm leaving. You are not moving right. Not taking into consideration anything that she has done. Now, Lyle is in no way perfect in this movie, but he is the one buying the weed for the majority. She is smoking and partaking in this weed often also, even more than him, to the point that he can't even have a secret stash without feeling like being guilty. But she has a tendency to smoke it up a whole lot, but she is not replenishing a damn thing. And I feel like this annoys Lyle. But at the same time, you can be extra with me and feel like, oh, it's all about weed with you. That's all you care about. You can't even take 2 seconds to talk to me. But at the same time, you are smoking a lot of weed too, so who are you to place any judgment? While in the same breath stating things like you need to take this saving for this trip more serious, but also saying, why are you being so serious about a little weed? We could always just buy some more. The weed man calls. Guess who tells him to come by and bring some weed now because I need some, I need to smoke? It's Nina. She is just as much as depending on this weed, using it to cope with her emotions, just like her partner Lyle, 2 little raggedy peas in a toxic bunch. Now, the portion of the movie where Lyle is arrested with no way to contact Nina to let her know what's going on, it is simply hilarious. We have him here in this holding cell with Isaiah Whitlock Jr., aka Shit. They try to make this holding cell appear like it's just full-blown prison. Isaiah Whitlock is trying to push up on him. Which is absolutely hilarious. He is, you know, this OG who has clearly been in this holding cell far too many times and too long, and is trying to take advantage of people, trying to bargain and sell stuff, all while looking for his very next prison bait. Very, very funny. I appreciated that whole scene, even though they was taking that holding cell over the top. But what I did also take away from that is that he does have a set of standards, a set of morals. He does maybe have a desire to do something more with his life. We do see that, unlike his partner that he repossesses furniture with, that he does think about things. Like, I feel uncomfortable taking this man's sofa. I also feel a way about him being in the same cell with me, coughing up a storm and nobody bothering to give him a drink of water. I need to help. You do see a lot of potential in Lyle. It's just about him seeing that same potential in himself. The only thing substantial that he feels like he has as a person or has to offer in general is Nina. So when he eventually loses her, his whole world just shatters. When Lyle gets out and promises to be more present, be better, this will never happen again, she wants to try to stop smoking weed to see how it makes them feel. Lyle is completely against this. Off weed, I have to think about my shortcomings, my own insecurities, my job, our relationship. I know how it feels to not smoke weed. That's why I smoke weed in the first place. I don't got time for that. Even though she is not satisfied, you really don't see her give much pushback. She instantly jumps to, well, you know, hey, instead of us smoking weed, how about we just take our weed and make weed brownies, as if, you know, that makes the situation better because we're not smoking it, we're eating it. We have their relationship pretty much come to a head when we have Lyle just feel like, I'm not really digging the weed brownies at this moment. Sounds good, but I have a whole friend here who just got off of probation. He is about to have a full-blown smoked out pass puff puff give ass party. We got whole vaporizers and vacuums and bongs and all kind of stuff. I can't get that same high with these brownies. I'm gonna skip out on this brownie weed date and I'm gonna go with my friends. I'm gonna lie. After I already got caught up going to jail and making you upset in the first place. And then you have the prize. Nina, who was quite irresponsible in taking these weed brownies to work where she is like 100% of the time surrounded by kids, just happened to meet a group of kids who felt like going in her bag and eating these weed brownies that she made. That scene was hilarious. Them badass kids, little boy talking to his grandmother, you know, am I gonna die? Are you dead, grandma? Like the kids throwing up, high out of their freaking mind. Who brings weed brownies to work and work around kids? No! Losing her job, running from the freaking cops, getting arrested. At this point, her family, they just feel like this is not a good relationship. This is not how things are supposed to be. You need to get away from Lyle. He's bringing you down, not recognizing some of the very, same symptoms that are in Lyle. It's in their own daughter, but they very much so did need to separate. That is not more present than when we get into Lyle waking up looking homeless on the bus. One shoe in a how did you even get into the toddler jacket if we have to cut you out of it? Crazy. Just completely just out of his mind. He has lost it. He has spent all night getting high, has not been able to pick her up from the precinct or go and bail her out. Not only are we high, but from the looks of it, we drunk like 4 locos. I don't know. It looked like something in the circle of that. He is completely out of it and inebriated. Nina sees this as you leaving me hanging. You weren't here when I needed you. I called. I needed somebody to pick me up from the precinct, come bail me out. You were nowhere to be found, to the point that I had to call my parents. Like, you ain't shit. I need to get out of here. Not admitting to the fact that though Lyle is all these things, like, sir, the way that he was looking, the filth, ugh. You were there because you were irresponsible enough to not only engage with this coworker, y'all talking about stuff on the clock, talking about weed. Meanwhile, you have kids going into your bag, eating weed brownies that you made, getting you fired from your job. Those things were your fault, but we're not admitting to any of that. Now, we pretty much end off the movie with Lyle losing his shit. Lyle is down bad. Lyle looks downright homeless. He looks filthy. He is stealing. He looks like a junkie. He has dove completely into drinking to the point that he is stealing beer. He looks like your common person who is on the street down bad because they have a habit. Meanwhile, we just smoke weed. We just smoke weed. I thought they did a lot in the end because I was like, come on now, wow, this is what we have descended to. But I tried to sprinkle on some depression and some other things because he was really feeling horrible at the fact that Nina was gone. She has community service and she is living with the parents. He has been stalking her. There's a whole restraining order on you, bruh. It does not look good. And who takes pity on us and helps us out? The weed man. You know how down you got to be for your weed man to lend you some weed and give you some cash to help you out. Now, they do establish that they did come up together, but this has been Lyle's weed man since they were teenagers, but he just took so much pity on him. You look bad out here. Like, you need to get yourself together. No wonder, you know, you lost Nina. Look at how you're living. Like, he was living like disgusting. I was like, they are putting a lot on it. I felt like the movie honestly went a little too far and extreme with Lyle's descent into madness. But you know, the movie had to movie. I love when the weed man was like, nah, bro, like, that's yours. You keep all of that. Did you see your lips? Did you see the back of your neck? I don't even want to puff after you. That's how bad you out here looking. But I didn't like the fact that it was all equated to, you know, see, this is why Nina left. Nina needed to work on herself as well. So I was very happy to see that they do not walk away together here. We have Lyle, who is still very much so damaged. When the weed man tells Lyle, you know, here's some money, get yourself a job, I'm assuming at this point that, you know, we're gonna end with some happy ending. No. All progressive. It was like, no, I still need to work on myself. I am going to use this money, but as a repo man, I'm looking in the newspaper and I see all these ads, you know, to purchase TVs, purchase furniture, purchase all of these electronics. I'm going to take this money that he gave me to get a tie and a job, go rent electronic items from the job that I got fired from because I was an alcoholic. Because, you know, at this point, alcoholic is a whole lot cheaper than weed, and we are just down bad and have no money. I'm going to put ads in the paper as if I own these things, sell them, get the money, and purchase these tickets to take this trip that Nina has been wanting to take since this movie began. Oh, look, progress. No, that's not really progress. He was so pressed and dependent upon that relationship with Nina because he felt like it gave him validation as a person, not really wanting to do the work. So if I can get these tickets and, you know, we can run away and go on this trip, it'll mend everything instantly. I miss her. Not really even thinking about how damaged he is and how damaged she really is. And even after everything, she even sits and contemplates like, well, maybe I could go. Get your ass in the house. You're not going anywhere with him. Her parents are working really hard to keep them apart. I love when Nina's dad comes out like, you know, I'm trying to be nice, going on about your business. Like, nigga, I said, like, hold strong arm his ass. Get off of my property. Get away from my brownstone. But Lyle is so desperate and he will not listen. After they say, you know what, we are just calling the police to deal with this, he has no choice but to go on this trip by himself. And I couldn't be happier for it. Like, no, you don't need to go with anybody. You need to go and find yourself and find out who you are without so much of the weed and without Nina. Discover who Lyle is. Because the codependency the both of you have on each other and on weed is a bit much. Well, you guys, that was my review for NewlyWeeds. I hope you enjoyed it. Please drop down and tell me what you thought about this movie. Have you ever seen this movie? And if not, I feel like a lot of you haven't because I had never seen it. Please drop down and enlighten me on if you want to go watch this, or, you know, if you go watch it, come back and leave me a comment. I look forward so much to reading them. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.